Prince Ivan, Baba Yaga, and Trump. This is what we'll talk about today. And also about what happened in Alaska just now, recently. Hello there, I'm Elena, welcome back to my channel Enough of Propaganda. Please like, subscribe, share my videos, let's make truth available for everyone. Unlike many of people on YouTube, I was researching this war since the very beginning of it, since 2014. And also I'm originally from the USSR and Russia. I'm not from Ukraine. I live in Canada for many years now. And I have lived through the USSR and many other things. This is why many of things which is new to you as a people from democratic countries, I have seen this before. Many of it. But I have never thought I will see what happened just recently in Alaska in 2025. A quick note. In Russian folklore and in Slavic folklore, Baba Yaga is an ugly old witch who lives in a hut on chicken legs and sometimes tricks heroes. There are lots of versions of her chicken legs house. Another description of her is a supernatural being who appears as ferocious-looking old crone and found across Slavic folklore traditions. Particularly in Russian lore, Baba Yaga flies around in a mortar, wields a pestle, and dwells deep in the forest in a shack that's standing on chicken legs. I would say she's using a broom instead of this, so she used it way before Harry Potter did. In my opinion, the best actor, who actually was a man, Millar, portrayed Baba Yaga in a movie made by Alexander Rowe, and this is him in that movie. What a pretty woman, eh? You will understand why I'm talking about her soon enough. But I just wanted you to be introduced to that very nice lady. Baba Yaga. Another hero of our Russian story today is Ivan Tsarevich, or Ivan Prince. Whatever happened in Alaska isn't funny, I understand that. But I noticed that with Russian jokes or Russian folklore, we can explain a lot of things. This is why I'm starting from a Russian joke. So, Prince Ivan, or Ivan Tsarevich, came to the hut of Baba Yaga. Old crone says, "Spend a night of passionate love with me. In the morning I will turn into beautiful princess and marry you." He agrees. Morning comes, and lying next to him is the same hideous old witch. Furious, he shouts, "What happened? Where is the beautiful princess?" Baba Yaga shrugs. "You're a grown man and you still believe in fairy tales. Silly boy." For those wondering where Trump fits in this joke, Baba Yaga is Putin. I understand that old Trump doesn't look like young Ivan Prince, Ivan Tsarevich, but nevertheless. Recent historical meeting between Russian war criminal Putin and Donald Trump, President of the United States, was a disgrace. It was a disaster and horror, and I can understand how people in Ukraine, in all over the world, and especially Americans, real actual Americans, feel about this. And let's talk about it a little bit. Russia demands Alaska back. Kneel before the Tsar or usurper America. I wrote this post a few days before the meeting, and this picture actually is the signing of the Alaska Treaty of Secession on March 30th, 1867. Edward de Stockel, present from the Russian side, and we'll talk about this guy a little bit deeper. Russians claim that Alaska was either never paid for, despite the fact that even Wikipedia has a proof of payment, or that the money from the sale was stolen. Yet history is clear. Tsar Alexander II rewarded Russian diplomat Edward de Stockel, the man who negotiated the sale, with $25,000 and an annual pension of $6,000. 2 years later, in 1869, Stockel resigned and was made a Knight of the Order of the White Eagle. Does it sound to you like a guy who cheated Tsar and didn't give him money? I heard different versions of it. Americans didn't pay, but they say, well, there is a proof of payment. Oh, must have been Tsar didn't receive the money. The Stockel with Americans somehow spread the money between themselves and Tsar didn't get the money. Why would Tsar reward Stockel for the sale of Alaska, which actually was sold because of the failure of Russia in the Crimean War? This is kind of interesting. This is actually proof of payment. And Russia faced catastrophic defeat in the Crimean War at the time. So hopefully Putin is facing a catastrophic defeat in Ukraine. And this is a bit symbolic. But since Donald Trump is so generous with giving away other people's land, adores Putin and trusts him so much that he failed to enforce his own ultimatum against Russia, here's my proposal. Russians are already demanding Alaska back, despite ironclad proof that the United States bought it legally. So maybe Trump will just hand it over for free. Why stop there? Then Russia can demand North Carolina, California next. Let's gift wrap it for Putin.
From Anchorage.
Mr. Putin, will you agree to a ceasefire?
At least some brave journalists ask right questions. And somebody asked right on the field where Trump met Putin that would you stop killing Ukrainian civilians? Putin pretended he didn't see it. He didn't understand what was asked. Make no mistakes. Putin called the United States an enemy, and so was the USSR. His doctrine is simple. Wherever a Russian soldier once stood, that's Russia. So when Putin strolls into Alaska, I said if he doesn't chicken out of coming to the United States, which, according to some people, this might have not been even real Putin. But I don't do conspiracy theories if I can't prove them. So I wrote in my post that should we expect American peasants to kneel before the Russian Tsar usurper? After all, slaves are expected to greet their master on their knees. I thought I was joking. To my horror, I understood that I wasn't when it's actually happened. These are American soldiers on their knees rolling out the red carpet for the Russian war criminal, mass murderer, and Nazi. Here's the bigger shot. I agree with the author of this post. The most noteworthy thing to come out of today's disastrous meeting with dictator Putin was this image of US soldiers on their knees rolling out the red carpet for the butcher of Ukraine. Let me be clear, Ukrainian land is not Trump's to give. Ukraine is not Trump's to surrender. This war is not about territory, it's about the survival of a nation. It's about the international law. It's about the facts. 93 Americans have died fighting for Ukraine, defending freedom and democracy, fighting against Russian terror and brutality. Heroes, every one of them. Today the President of the United States welcomed the man who killed them to Alaska. I agree, this is a disgrace. And everything started from even Lavrov showed up. Where you ever saw Lavrov without suit and tie? Lavrov showed up with a CCCP USSR sweater, basically showing Americans that, in the whole world, that Putin won. Putin showed up in Alaska, in American military base. But Lavrov showing, we are building an empire, we are rebuilding the USSR. What are you gonna do about it? This is Bridget Brink, former ambassador to Ukraine. She said, I served as a US ambassador to Ukraine, living under Putin's missiles and drones for 3 years. I resigned and spoke out against Trump's administration because we must stand out for our values at home and abroad. This is her thoughts about Putin-Trump's meeting. This is what Putin did to Ukraine. This is what he did to Chechnya. This is what he did to Georgia. This is what he did to Africa. What touched me a lot is this post. This is a picture from March 2022. An improvised grave in the middle of Mariupol. It used to be Russian-speaking city in Ukraine. Just 2 words on a piece of carton. Nameless babushka, nameless granny. Multiply this by hundreds of thousands. Putin's Russia must pay for what they did. I'm grateful to people in Alaska who stood up for Ukraine, who came on the meeting and stood up for Ukraine. At the time when their president is welcoming Russian war criminal on the American soil, giving him a ride in his own limousine, smiling and clapping to him. At the time when Trump agreed with Putin and saying at least twice that he is going to Russia, real Americans, like Jake Bro, for example, this is a piece of his video, stood up and will stay up and defend democracy against anybody who wanna be a dictator. This is what Trump said.
This. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal.
He's going to Russia, apparently. That's a gift for Putin. Well, give Alaska back. Trump said it's Russia. In my post on Quora, I was hope he said it by mistake, but he keep repeating it. He keep insisting that he's in Russia. That's a good question by Roman Sheremetya. Can you explain to me why Bin Laden, who destroyed 2 buildings, was hunted by the CIA for years, but a war criminal who bombs cities in Europe every day having a meeting with President of the United States? So what's the result of that meeting? That shameful, disgusting meeting in Alaska? The proof of complete surrender of the United States to Russian dictator. Lavrov showed up in USSR jumper. US soldiers laid out red carpet for Putin. Putin got a private limo ride with Trump. Putin spoke first at the presser. Putin lied without pushback. No ceasefire, no deal, no sanctions. On the bright side, real Americans, like for example Arnold Schwarzenegger, this is what they has to say. You're welcome to watch his speech. This is a great video by Timothy Snyder where he explained everything very well, that Trump has made Ukraine war longer and worse. He enabled Russian dictator Putin. He's a Russian asset, basically, what I always was saying all along. Because I watched Trump for over 20 years now, and I collected a lot of information. There is no point to listen who said what about Trump, just enough to listen Trump himself. And I showed a video about it, what I'm thinking about Trump, but I would suggest to watch this video because since Trump came to power, and now like what, 8 months already, it's increased attack. Putin increased attacks on Ukrainian civilians, kill way more of them. NATO is weaker, and everybody is in a worse situation than they were in the end of 2024. People in Alaska protested. Hey Trump, is Alaska next? Good question. And no, these people, many of them are not Ukrainians. This woman does not look like Ukrainian to me, that's for sure.
We need to stand with Ukraine!
I agree with her. So back to my Russian story, to the fairy tale. It's not just about Trump. How many times you can believe a Russian war criminal? How many times? Chechnya, Georgia 2008, Ukraine 2014, Ukraine 2022, Ukraine 2025. Such a big boy still believes in fairy tales, what I can say. And there is no point to wait from Trump something. He is a Putin's asset. Putin is his buddy. You are not. None of you. Not Ukrainian, not American. Trump isn't Democrat. Trump isn't Republican. Trump isn't even American. Trump is a Putin's buddy. And for those who have nothing better to do than ride on the emotional swings, hoping that Trump will suddenly turn on his buddy Putin, this is my message for you. Prince Ivan, Baba Yaga and Trump. Don't support terrorism, support Ukraine. Help Ukraine to stop Putin before it's too late. Learn the truth and stay informed. Thank you for watching. See you later.